Welcome back, Verse. Today we are going to be talking about Halo, the show being canceled on Paramount Plus. This is interesting, you know, because I want to actually talk about something that has to do with this, and this is actually a perfect example when it comes down to actors and performances, and most importantly, performing behind the mask. That's a major thing to talk about. And it's interesting for me too because I myself am an actor. So I've been wanting to have this discussion for a long time, and this is the best thing to do. With that said, I'm going to talk about the show and then give you guys my perspective on actors and executive producers and writers when it comes down to representing a character of some sort and having to perform with your face covered. So the show, I'm not surprised that Halo got canceled. I mean, it was pretty predictable. The backlash was crazy when Halo came out. Wow. I saw the first season myself and even I hated it. I was like, look, I'm not a Master Chief nut. I don't really play Halo like that. I've only played one Halo game my whole life, and that was Halo 3, and that was it, right, on the 360. And it wasn't even my 360. I grew up with PlayStation. But even I know who Master Chief is, and even I know one thing that makes him so interesting is that he never removes his helmet. No one knows how he looks like, and most importantly, he's always thrown himself into battle. He's been through all these adventures, etc., etc. Master Chief is just a very iconic character, right? Not the iconic character, but he's a iconic character, especially for Xbox. And when I found out they were making a show, I was like, okay, because I've seen some Halo shows, animated, and I've seen real life adaptations. I saw the last Halo movie that they made. I wish it could have been a little bit better, but the way how they represented Master Chief, even though he came in the last minute, I thought was great. I think they did a good job representing Master Chief in that last movie. But when it came down to the show, I was a little bit skeptical, but then when I saw the trailer, I was like, wow, the production looked great. The visual effects looked spot on, and most importantly, the action was great. And then when it came down to the negatives about the show, my negatives. So immediately they removed this helmet. I was like, wow, okay, so already I know this show's not going to count. And sure enough, they announced that the show on Paramount is non-canon. And I was like, yep, I expected that. And then, when Master Chief was in fights of any kind, he kept fighting without the helmet. And I was thinking, oh, okay, I know what they're doing. This is Hollywood. So because this is Hollywood, they're going to be showing a lot of Master Chief, but no Master Chief, just whoever the actor is playing Master Chief. And sure enough, it was a lot of this actor, and I didn't care for it. No hate towards the actor of any kind, but I will definitely say hate towards the writers, because I don't understand how is it that you're gonna want to take a job writing for a show that's based off material that's been done years before this show ever came along, and somehow you pull a 180 and you do the complete opposite. I just don't understand that. Like, how do you mess up when you have so much to take from? You have so many video games you can mimic something from, you have shows and movies that were made before, and somehow this is the best you come up with. You remove his helmet, and then what's even worse is that you make it more of a drama. Instead of a sci-fi action adventure, you make it into a sci-fi action drama. How? How do you do that? And well, the biggest example was when they had Master Chief have intercourse, where he took off his whole suit and he was going after this one girl, and Cortana was right there watching. I was like, what? It was so out of character. And for Master Chief to have even gotten in the second season, I was like, I get it. Maybe they want to try to see if they can make up for the mistakes, and clearly it didn't work. It clearly did not work. That's where I wanted to go in with this topic, which was the fact of actors performing behind a mask. I personally feel, as an actor myself, that if I was ever lucky enough to be a part of a franchise that involved my face being covered, I would accept the job. Why? Because this is an on-set performance, but this is also voice acting. It's me still doing the performance just behind a mask, right? And I really wouldn't mind that because I think it's genuinely interesting. I mean, a perfect example of that would be Dredd. Not the one with Sylvester Stallone where he kept taking the mask off and it was just Sylvester Stallone. No. The 2014 one with Karl Urban. Karl Urban did an amazing job in that movie because not once in that movie did he remove his mask. And I just saw Dredd the whole time. And Karl Urban did a great job in that film. I loved Dredd. I mean, rated R film, you know, but I loved it because of what it was and because of how he played the character. That's great. I think it's cool, like if they were ever to make a show based off Metroid, as long as you have that suit on and you don't make it about the person behind the mask continuously, right? Maybe sometimes, it depends on the character, but continuously, it'll work. But if you keep taking off the main face of the suit and you keep worrying about the freaking actor, no one's gonna care. That's why this show failed, because you kept making it more about the actors' faces instead of what people were there for, which was to see Master Chief. That was the problem here. I'm gonna be real with you, it's the same thing with superhero movies. Like, it amazes me that they're doing so terrible nowadays, especially with Marvel, because you have years, and I mean years, of comics, animated shows, video games for you to copy stuff and make it into an awesome movie or a show or whatever, and somehow it's just not happening. There's so many comic book, video game, adaptation, remake, prequels that they keep doing over and over and over, and they keep bringing in writers that just somehow don't know any of it. And I'm thinking, you're telling me you couldn't find one writer that didn't know anything about Halo? You're telling me you couldn't find one writer that didn't know anything about Law and Firm for She-Hulk? Like, for She-Hulk, I learned that other than the wokeness and far-left agendas and stuff that they had in that show, right, that not one writer of that show knew anything about Law Firm or anything that had to do with like the criminal justice system. None of them knew anything about that. And I was thinking, the point of She-Hulk is that she's a lawyer, and you're gonna have writers that know nothing about that. How does that work? It's like you making a Superman film and you don't know anything about Superman. How? That doesn't make any sense. So that's what I'm saying. I think that Hollywood executive producers need to realize that if you're gonna make an adaptation of a video game or a show or anything like that, right, you need to make sure you copy the performance and especially the character exactly the same. Now, story-wise, it can be different because there's many different stories, and I wouldn't mind a different direction in a story. But as long as the character is just and exactly the same way as however it is you're representing it from wherever, then people are gonna love it because it's the same character, just a different story. Now, however the story ends up becoming, it honestly depends on the writers. I mean, a great example, The Last of Us. Now, I'm gonna be honest, there were some disagreements I had with the real show. The point is that Joel was still Joel in that show, and Ellie was still Ellie. I bought Pedro Pascal as Joel, and I bought the actress who played Ellie as Ellie. I mean, they kind of overdid it a little bit with the swearing and everything, but I bought that as Ellie. They mimicked it exactly moment for moment in sequence to sequence as it was in the game. When it comes down to Halo, I'm like, what happened? Like, they did a complete 180 and it just wasn't anything like the video game at all. I don't have to play all the video games to know that what they did in this show was not Master Chief. And I mean, a perfect example of a show that is working is Fallout. The first season did great. I watched it myself. I love Fallout. I only played Fallout 4. That's the only Fallout game I've ever played, and now I want to play more Fallout because of the show, because they did such an amazing job, and because there's a Western theme in it. That's why I like it, especially that one character. But yeah, like, I like Fallout. Like, they did a great job on that. If Hollywood keeps going towards this direction, people aren't going to take video game shows or movies that seriously anymore, unless it's something else from the studio itself of a video game, because it's just really unfortunate that these writers keep taking up these jobs to do these shows and they just don't know what to do with it. I'm like, why are you taking it in the first place? It really makes you wonder, like, what are they trying to do when they doing this stuff? It amazes me. I mean, it's pretty good that they actually canceled the show. I think it's for the best. Just leave it alone. And if you do want to pick it up when you actually bring people in who actually know what they're doing. Like, it's just crazy how Hollywood is so focused on actors, which I get, that's the premise of it, of a performance. If you're making a representation of something, you gotta do it right. I mean, Godzilla, right? Putting masks aside, Godzilla. Let's be real, when we watch a Godzilla film, we're there for the monsters, right? We're there to see Godzilla fight another monster of some sort. In King of the Monsters, the reason why that film failed so miserably is because of the fact that even though there was a lot of great action sequences in that film, they kept showing the actors when the monsters were fighting on the left. Why am I not watching King Ghidorah and Rodan, I believe was the name, right? That winged bird. Why is it that we're not seeing them fight, but I'm watching this crew in a helicopter trying to get into a carrier, and by the time you go back to the monsters, they're done fighting? And then Godzilla 2014 especially, they kept showing more of the humans and barely anything of the monsters. That doesn't work. And then now they finally learned that from the backlash, and now they're showing more of like Kong and obviously Godzilla and stuff like that. But I'm just saying, prior to that, like, that should have been a no-brainer. That's my point of this whole thing. It makes for an interesting discussions about actors performing behind a mask, you know? And I'm really glad to be using this opportunity to talk about that, because I think it is important, especially for anybody here who's an actor. I would love to do a project that has to do with me being behind a mask or covering my face. That'd be awesome, you know? I'll be like, oh, okay, cool, so that's how I look like when I perform behind a mask of some kind. That'd be really awesome, you know what I mean? Only time will tell. I would just say this to end this video. Stop worrying about the actors. No one cares to see the actors. If it's an actor that people like, cool, but we want to see how they look like behind the main character that they're playing, please please, for the love of God, this one, pick better writers that understand and know the source material. Please. Stop picking random people that don't know anything about what it is you're hiring them for. That's terrible. How did they even get that job in the first place? And then third, most importantly, please stick to the source material. Stop going off and trying to do your own thing, especially if you don't know anything about the franchise. Stop doing that. It's not going to work. Halo is a perfect example of that. These recent Marvel movies are a perfect example of that. They're more focused on putting an agenda in your face than they are wanting to tell you a good story. With the shows and movies and all this stuff. That's just honestly how I see it. And honestly, that's just how it goes. Same thing with DC too. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, I'm a DC fan, but even I know in the beginning, you know, some of the DC movies weren't great. You know, they were trying to rush everything and do all this and that. And I get that. It's for any franchise. But again, first, I hope no one gets butthurt here. I'm just saying that's just where I'm coming from. Ending this video, if you guys have a suggestion yourself, is there an idea that you think Hollywood could try to do when it comes down to adapting a source material of some kind? Do you guys agree? Do you guys disagree? Let me know in the bottom. I'd be happy to hear. So with that said, though, if you like what you saw, do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification for more content as always. Look forward to the next video verse, and you know, Halo's over, and just let it rest in peace. Just leave it alone. Fallout, keep doing good with Fallout, but until then, you know, let's just find out and see what they do next when it comes down to these shows. Hopefully, you know, like I said, they just do a better job and understand what people are saying from the backlash that they get. It's crazy. Thank you very much, Verse, for watching this vid, and I'll see you next time. Later, Verse.